Everyone called her useless. Her family mocked her dreams, disregarded her efforts, and friends, who she once trusted, turned their backs as well. Ada tried to stay quiet, walking through the bustling streets of Lagos, clutching her worn bag while her heart ached with pain, but inside her mind, the code and formulas she had been secretly learning flickered like a hidden flame. She sat in her small room at night, keyboard and laptop before her, fingers dancing over keys, creating software and building applications that could one day change the world. But nobody knew. Not one family member, not society, not she herself, for she kept it all secret. Even Chike and Funk were not fully aware of the extent of her talent. Every morning brought more humiliation, her mother calling her burdened, her father mocking her in a quiet but piercing way, and siblings rolling their eyes as if her existence was a pain. But despite everything, her mind was sharp, relentless, calculating, and creative. The first project she ever created was a mobile platform that helped small vendors track inventory and manage customers. She uploaded quietly to the internet without telling anyone, testing its functionality, adjusting code, and watching the results with quiet satisfaction. She remembered the weeks when she had studied online free courses, staying up all nights, ignoring pain from her illness, and hunger that crept in the corners of her small room, sometimes crushing her morale, but then she would think of herself, the strength she had survived, and the secret dream that burned in her chest. A moment when she felt powerful even though the world told her otherwise. One evening, as the sun set over Lagos streets, casting orange reflections on tin roofs, Chike walked in, noticing her intense focus. Curiosity in his eyebrows. "Ada, what are you working on?" he said, surprise and admiration mixed in the tones of his voice. She paused, hesitated, and then gave a half smile. "Just something I've been experimenting with," her words small but filled with hidden confidence. He sat beside her, asking questions. She answered carefully, not revealing the full scope, her heart thumping with excitement and fear. A fear that if anyone knew what she was really capable of, her family would either ridicule or truly understand. And that was unacceptable, yet overwhelmingly important. The next morning, Ada walked to the market to buy basic supplies, selling her handmade bracelets for coins that helped her living. Her friends Funk and Chike helping her with morale and practical support, but in the world of family and neighbors, she remained the useless girl, ignored and abandoned. Walking through the bustling streets, she felt the eyes of strangers, curious, indifferent, occasionally kind. And yet her focus remained on her hidden dreams that would one day change their lives. She thought of the code, the results, the numbers, and feedback from early social media trials, and each success was a very small triumph, but a very significant one for someone called useless. She paused at the street corner, watching traffic and children playing. Little did they know that this girl, once helpless and abandoned, would soon be more powerful than they ever imagined. As her family mocked her at breakfast and ignored her needs, she clenched her fist inside her small bag, her mind plotting and dreaming, building an empire step by step. While outside, the streets remained vivid, bright noonday light casting sharp shadows. The world around her, unaware of the rising storm of talent and intelligence hidden behind a pretty face and weak body. She typed and coded all night, her laptop flickering, lights reflected in her eyes, heartbeat fast, anticipation buzzing through her veins, imagining the moment when she would reveal herself, and their silence would be filled with shock and admiration. The end of segment 1 left her in a conspicuous but powerful position, hiding her genius, preparing for triumph, while those labeling her useless continued their normal day, unaware of what's coming. And the audience was left with the question, what would you do when the same world called you useless? While something extraordinary was growing in the background, Ada woke early that morning, the bright Lagos sun spilling through her small window, illuminating the room where her laptop waited like a secret companion. She had stayed up late coding again, adjusting her application, analyzing data, and preparing for a soft launch that nobody outside her trusted circle could know about. Chike arrived with a cup of coffee, smiling faintly. "Ada, you look exhausted," he said, eyes full of concern. She smiled weakly, hiding the burning excitement inside. "Just a little more work," she murmured, fingers already flying over the keyboard. Funk popped her head in, carrying a small bundle of snacks. "Don't forget to eat," she said, and Ada nodded, grateful for the little support from friends who actually believed in her. Ada spent hours refining the user interface of her app, making it intuitive and sleek, testing functionality with mock data, ensuring every detail was perfect. Even as she worked, she felt the sting of her family's absence, their disbelief echoing in her mind, but she turned it into fuel, each insult, each neglectful glance reinforcing her determination to succeed quietly and independently. By mid-afternoon, she took a small break, stepping outside to watch the streets, seeing children selling goods, vendors shouting over traffic, and people hustling through life oblivious to her struggle or genius. She felt a pang of isolation, but reminded herself that this was temporary, that her time would come. Later that evening, Ada received a small email from a local startup incubator she had applied 2 months ago, unnoticed by anyone else, inviting her to pitch her project online. Her heart raced, excitement and anxiety swirling together, and she immediately began preparing her presentation, rehearsing lines quietly, envisioning the moment she could show her vision to people who might actually value her ideas. Chike stayed late to help her practice, pointing out flaws gently, boosting her confidence in subtle ways. Funk contributed by brainstorming potential challenges and solutions, their collaboration forming a mini support system Ada had never had with her family. As the sun set, Ada finally leaned back in her chair, exhausted but exhilarated. Realizing that her first real step toward independence had begun, the next day, she nervously logged into the video call, presenting her application to a panel of mentors and investors. Her hands shook initially, but as she spoke, explaining the feature's benefits and potential impact of her software, she noticed nods of approval, eyes lighting up with interest. Questions came fast, technical, challenging, but Ada responded with precision, confidence growing with each answer. By the end of the session, one of the investors smiled broadly. "Ada, this is impressive work. You have real potential." "Yes!" And she felt a surge of validation she had never experienced from her family. That night, Ada returned home quietly celebrating, though no one around knew the significance of the day. She imagined her family mocking her still, assuming she was failing at life, while in reality, she had taken the first step toward building something extraordinary, independent of their approval or ridicule. She knew the road ahead would be hard, filled with obstacles, and perhaps even betrayal from those who might try to exploit her success. But for the first time, she felt a flicker of hope, a glimmer of power that no one could take away. Ada typed late into the night, adding enhancements, preparing for her soft launch, and dreaming of a day when the same people who called her useless would be forced to recognize her brilliance. The quiet hum of her laptop, the soft clicking of keys, the warm glow of her small room, these became the soundtrack of her secret rise. Her hidden life, her unseen journey toward becoming someone the world could no longer ignore. She paused, smiling faintly at the screen, whispering to herself, "This is just the beginning," and for the first time in years, the girl once called useless felt a taste of real power, potential, and purpose. Weeks passed, and Ada's project quietly gained momentum. The small application she had coded in secret now had dozens of early users. Some friends of friends, others discovering it online without knowing who had created it. Each new download, each piece of positive feedback sent shivers of pride and disbelief through her. Chike visited often, marveling at her dedication, helping her troubleshoot technical issues, while Funk brainstormed marketing strategies and ways to expand outreach without exposing Ada to the scrutiny of their unsupportive family. Ada worked late into the nights, fueled by coffee, determination, and the silent fire of proving herself in a world that had written her off. Meanwhile, her family continued in ignorance, laughing at rumors of her laziness, commenting on her failure in hushed tones to neighbors, completely unaware that the girl they called useless was building something extraordinary behind closed doors. One afternoon, Ada received a message from a regional tech competition, inviting promising young innovators to showcase their work. Her heart leaped, but caution tempered excitement. If she attended, her identity could be revealed prematurely, risking exposure to people who might misunderstand her intentions or worse, mock her publicly. After careful deliberation, she decided to participate but maintain anonymity, using only her online pseudonym and focusing on results rather than personal recognition. The day of the event arrived and Ada logged in quietly, her pulse quickening as she presented her application to judges and peers from across Nigeria. Questions came fast, probing functionality, scalability, and potential impact. Ada answered with clarity, her secret talent shining through. By the end of the session, the judges were visibly impressed, praising the innovation and foresight evident in her work. Ada exhaled slowly, pride swelling inside her, but still cautious. Knowing that her family would never guess the girl they mocked was responsible for such brilliance. Back home, she continued improving the application, adding new features, collaborating with Chike and Funk to expand its reach, and quietly accepting small investments from mentors impressed by her technical skill. One evening, Ada's mother called unexpectedly, asking for her to come by for a family discussion. Ada hesitated, sensing the potential for confrontation, but chose to stay focused on her work, responding politely but non-committally. The tension grew as Ada realized the moment for the ultimate reveal would need perfect timing, not impulsive confrontation. The suspense of her hidden success weighed on her daily, balancing excitement, anxiety, and a growing sense of empowerment. She imagined the reactions of her siblings, their disbelief when they finally saw the truth, and the satisfaction of knowing that she had never relied on their approval to succeed. With each passing day, the user base of her application grew. Early investors expressed interest. Her small team of supporters marveled at how quickly she was making a difference in the tech community, all while the world outside remained ignorant of her hidden genius. Ada spent quiet moments reflecting on her journey. The cruel words, the abandonment, the nights of loneliness and struggle, and realized that these experiences had forged a resilience and determination unmatched by anything she had previously known. She whispered to herself, soon, they will see the girl they called useless has always been unstoppable. And with that thought, she returned to her work, fingers flying across the keyboard, eyes shining with anticipation, as her secret empire began taking shape in earnest, laying the foundation for the day when everything would change, when her hidden brilliance would finally emerge into the light, leaving everyone who doubted her shocked, speechless, and full of regret for ever underestimating the girl who had been abandoned but never broken. Ada woke early, the sun streaming through her window, illuminating the small room that had become both her sanctuary and her battleground. She stretched briefly, then sat at her laptop, reviewing the latest user statistics from her application. Downloads were increasing steadily, feedback positive, and small investors were beginning to inquire about partnerships, all without anyone in her family suspecting a thing. The thrill of hidden success coursed through her veins, mingling with the bitter memory of ridicule and abandonment she had endured for years. Chike arrived shortly after, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a quiet grin. Another long day ahead? He asked. Ada nodded, sipping slowly, feeling the warmth spread through her chest. Funk arrived a few minutes later, carrying notebooks filled with ideas for app improvements and community engagement. The 3 of them huddled together, reviewing features, brainstorming marketing strategies, and celebrating small victories that felt monumental in the shadow of her family's disbelief. Yet not all was peaceful. Ada had recently discovered that a former coworker, someone she had briefly trusted, had been spreading rumors about her incompetence and secretly attempting to access her code repository. The betrayal stung sharply, reminding her of every time she had been called useless and abandoned. But Ada did not falter. She tightened security, reinforced her application, and reminded herself that resilience was forged in moments of adversity. The stakes were high, and any misstep could compromise the empire she was building in secret. Later that afternoon, she received an invitation to speak at a small tech meetup for aspiring innovators. It was an opportunity to showcase her application publicly, albeit anonymously, and gather real-world feedback. Ada felt excitement and nervousness intertwine, knowing that while recognition was tempting, exposure could alert her family to her growing influence before she was ready. She decided to participate, masking her identity while demonstrating her skill and vision. The presentation went flawlessly. Judges and participants were impressed by the technical depth, user-friendly design, and innovative approach of the application. Ada fielded questions expertly, balancing humility with quiet confidence. By the end of the session, she felt a surge of empowerment, a validation that came not from her family, but from peers who understood her vision and potential. Returning home, Ada reflected on the twists of fate that had shaped her journey. From childhood abandonment to secret nights of coding and strategizing, she realized that every insult, every moment of doubt cast upon her, sharpened her determination and fueled her creativity. Her family's lack of support no longer mattered. What mattered was the empire she was quietly constructing, the life she was designing on her own terms. As evening fell, she checked the latest analytics. The app's reach was expanding. Early users were enthusiastic, and minor investors were beginning to commit funds. Her pulse quickened at the thought of the day when she could finally unveil her success to the world, including the very people who had dismissed her as useless. Ada glanced at her small calendar, marking important milestones for the coming weeks. Each step carefully planned to ensure maximum impact when the reveal came. She whispered to herself, "Soon. Everyone will see that the girl they thought was nothing has always been everything she needed to be." Her gaze shifted to Chike and Funk, her chosen family, smiling quietly as she realized that their support, love, and belief had been just as critical as her own perseverance. For the first time in years, Ada felt fully in control of her destiny. Ready to navigate the final stages of her hidden journey toward triumph, knowing that when the world finally discovered her secret identity as a tech billionaire, the shock would be unforgettable and the vindication complete. The morning air was crisp as Ada sat by her window, sipping tea and reviewing the latest analytics from her application. The numbers had soared beyond her expectations. Early investors were increasing their commitments, and user engagement was skyrocketing. She felt a quiet thrill, knowing that the girl her family had mocked was now quietly building a digital empire that could not be ignored. Chike arrived, carrying a small notebook filled with strategies for scaling the platform. And Funk followed shortly, her energy and ideas infusing the room with optimism. Ada smiled, feeling the warmth of their unwavering support, a stark contrast to the cold neglect of her family. Yet tension lingered in her mind. She knew it was only a matter of time before someone in her family caught wind of her success. Her mother had recently asked vague questions about her daily routine. Her siblings had made curious remarks about her secretive behavior, and even neighbors had begun to notice her determination and late-night activity. Ada remained calm, planning carefully, ensuring her reveal would be controlled, strategic, and impactful. That afternoon, she received an invitation to attend a high-profile technology conference in Lagos. A perfect stage to demonstrate her innovation and attract international attention. Ada decided to go, maintaining her anonymity for now, but preparing for the moment she would step into the spotlight as the tech genius no one had expected. On the day of the conference, she arrived early, scanning the room filled with investors, tech enthusiasts, and young innovators. Her application was displayed prominently, attracting curious attendees. Questions came rapidly, probing the technology, security, and scalability. Ada answered each confidently, her knowledge and preparation shining through. By the end of the presentation, several investors requested private meetings, eager to discuss funding and partnership opportunities. Ada's pulse raced with excitement, her heart swelling with pride. She imagined the faces of her family, shocked and speechless. The words they had thrown at her now meaningless in the face of her success. That evening, as she returned home, a notification appeared on her phone. A major tech news outlet had published an article about her application, praising the innovation and highlighting the young entrepreneur behind the pseudonym. Ada stared at the screen, breathless. Soon the world would know the truth. Her family would see, her critics would be silenced. She would finally be recognized for the brilliance they had once dismissed. Days later, Ada arranged a quiet family gathering, ostensibly to discuss personal matters. Her family gathered, oblivious to what was about to unfold. Ada stepped forward calmly, introducing herself not as the struggling, useless girl they remembered, but as the founder of a thriving tech company making waves in Nigeria. Gasps filled the room, disbelief and shock etched on their faces. Her mother's eyes widened, her father's jaw dropped, and siblings exchanged stunned glances. Ada spoke with poise, recounting her journey of abandonment, ridicule, secret perseverance, and triumph. She revealed the scale of her success, the user base, the investors, and the accolades she had quietly earned. Silence hung in the air, heavy and electric. Then Ada smiled, offering forgiveness without weakness, acknowledging that the past could not be changed, but the future was hers to command. Chaik and Funk beamed beside her, proud of the woman who had risen above betrayal and neglect to achieve what no one had believed possible. Ada's family, though shocked, could not deny the brilliance before them. The room was filled with a mixture of awe, regret, and admiration. Ada concluded, "I was called useless, abandoned, and underestimated. But today I stand as proof that resilience, intelligence, and determination can overcome anything. The girl you dismissed is now unstoppable." Tears glistened in her eyes, not from anger, but from triumph and liberation. She had faced the worst of human doubt and betrayal, and emerged victorious, her secret identity as a tech billionaire finally revealed, shocking everyone and cementing her place as a force to be reckoned with. Ada stood tall, her laptop closed beside her, the room buzzing with energy and anticipation. The family, who once dismissed her as useless, now stared in awe, struggling to reconcile the girl they had ignored with the successful entrepreneur before them. Chaik and Funk stood proudly by her side, their smiles radiant, reflecting years of support and unwavering belief. Ada took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every insult, every abandoned moment melt away into triumph. "I know you all doubted me," she began calmly, her voice steady and confident, "and I know you never believed I could do this. But I want you to see that perseverance, talent, and determination never go unnoticed, even if you are ignored for a time." Her mother's eyes glistened with tears, her father looked on in stunned silence, and her siblings shuffled awkwardly, suddenly realizing the gravity of their past neglect. Ada continued, explaining the journey of Secret Knight's coding, the late hours spent building the application, the mentorship she sought quietly, and the growth that led to her company becoming a major tech force in Nigeria. She described her first investors, the conferences she had attended, and the accolades earned, all achieved while maintaining humility and patience. The family listened, some with shame, others with admiration, and slowly the tension in the room began to shift into a new understanding. Ada then smiled warmly, offering forgiveness, but also asserting her boundaries, making it clear that respect and support were now prerequisites for any relationship moving forward. She emphasized that her success was not about revenge, but about proving to herself that her worth was never defined by anyone's opinion. Chaik and Funk hugged her, whispering encouragement, while Ada decided to celebrate by inviting her family to witness her first official company launch event. The day of the launch was filled with joy, media coverage, and congratulations from colleagues, investors, and friends. Ada walked confidently onto the stage, her team applauding behind her, and addressed the audience, sharing her story of struggle, abandonment, and ultimate triumph. She highlighted the lessons she had learned along the way: resilience, self-belief, hard work, and the importance of surrounding oneself with supportive people. The crowd was captivated. Some moved to tears, others inspired to pursue their own dreams despite obstacles. Backstage, her family watched silently, their expressions a mix of awe and reflection. Realizing that the girl they once called useless had become a leader, innovator, and inspiration to countless others, Ada took a moment to thank Chaik and Funk publicly, acknowledging the unwavering support and friendship that had sustained her throughout the journey. Later that evening, she returned home, exhausted but euphoric, reflecting on how far she had come. Her apartment, once a place of struggle and solitude, now felt like the headquarters of possibility and achievement. Ada smiled at her reflection in the mirror, whispering to herself, "I did this. I proved to myself first, and to the world second, that nothing can hold back someone determined to rise." She knew life would continue to bring challenges, But now she had proven her resilience, honed her talent, and established her place in the world. Ada's story spread widely, inspiring young women across Nigeria and beyond, showing that even when the world labels you useless, the right combination of skill, determination, and belief can lead to unimaginable success. Her journey ended not with vengeance, but with empowerment, happiness, and a bright future full of possibility, and the audience was left with a profound lesson: never underestimate yourself. Keep striving, and your true potential will one day astonish even those who doubted you most.